All right, so what we're going to be doing today probably isn't going to take the whole period, so I'll probably be letting you go in like half an hour, 45 minutes. Really, all I want to go over today is how to use all of the library resources to make sure you're getting the sources you need for your paper. Before we do that, I do just want to quickly run down a couple of things. So, last reflection paper is due tonight, right? Now, as I noted last time when we were talking about the course evals, I have come to the conclusion that 8 reflection papers was too many. I didn't see enough progress from reflection paper to reflection paper. Like, most of you did get better over the course of the term, right? But not dramatically so over the course of 8, like more than you would have gotten over, say, 6. So what I'm going to do is drop your 2 lowest reflection paper grades.
Oh my God.
So I'm only going to count your 6 best. And that's what's going to be, that's what's going to count towards your final average. For Monday, we're going to start working on what to do with the sources once you have them, right? So I want you to read Chapter 8 in Writing Analytically, which is precisely about that, right? We're going to discuss those strategies in class on Monday. And I also want you to bring 2 of your secondary sources to class with you on Monday. Now, you don't have to bring physical printouts of them, right? Because I know that's a pain in the ass. And, inevitably, when I ask for physical printouts, somebody forgets, and they have to run down the hall, and they're gone for 20 minutes. And then by the time they come back, we're halfway through the exercise.
So we can just have it written?
What's that?
So we can just write it normally? Or?
Well, no, what I want you to do, when you're bringing your 2 secondary sources with you, you can use your phone or a laptop for that, right? Probably going to be better, like if you have a laptop, to bring that, because it'll just be easier to read on a bigger screen. But yeah, you're going to bring 2 of your secondary sources to class with you. The annotated bibliography is due Monday night, and I also just want to remind everybody to try to when you have time, complete the course evaluation, right? So does anybody have any questions about anything?
Only the course evaluation for one of my other classes has shown up so far. Like, it hasn't done it for this class.
That's weird. Has anybody else tried to...
Well, can I see real quick? It's in post.
Yeah. You can go ahead and look real quick.
Because when it sends me the notifications or whatever, and
Okay.
that pulse app thingy, and it was like human and growth development.
It's just like on Georgia. Like if you go to Georgia View, there's just like.
When I looked, it wasn't.
So even when you looked like on a computer, it still wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll check again today. They probably just.
Because I know that the Pulse app doesn't always sync perfectly with Georgia View, because for some reason nothing does. If you're not seeing it on the computer either, I don't know why that is. I'm not sure if I have to open something up or what.
I can see it.
Yeah, if so, yeah.
I looked at mine this morning and I could see it.
Okay, so it was available in yours. Okay. That's weird because you can still clearly access the course and everything to do with it because you're still uploading stuff. So yeah.
I'll check again later.
Yeah.
Just have to refresh it.
Yeah. You maybe if you clear your browser history or something, that might do it. I don't know. That's my general tech support answer to everything. Just clear your browser history. Because for some reason, usually that works. I don't know why, but it does. Does anybody else have questions about anything? Okay, then let's talk about source gathering. So I do want to note, right, that I want y'all to do your source gathering through our library and our library resources, in large part because part of the purpose of the assignment is to help you figure out how to navigate those, right, for future classes and future assignments. So we go to our brand new, lovely, paid a lot of money for GSW website, which I have very strong opinions about. I mean, okay, it looks good, right? I will grant it that. It looks good. But it was clearly built like with advertising and marketing in mind and not with people who actually like work and study here. So it took me a long time to figure out how to get to the library on the new website. But yeah, we just roll over the academics tab and then down to academic resources, library. This, by the way, when they first updated the website, was not there. I had to complain to them to get it posted there.
So what did you do?
Hey, well, I emailed the office that's in charge of this, like, hey, where's the library? I need that. Okay. So the first place we're going to go is Galileo, and I know that I showed you all the MLA International Bibliography in Topaza before the break, right? But I'm not sure everybody was here for that, and I'm also thinking that it might still be good to get a quick refresher on those, right? Those are probably going to be the most useful resources for this assignment that you will encounter, right? So you're going to want to search the databases in Galileo by subject. View all subjects. And yeah, just about every field that is taught in the University System of Georgia has a set of databases in here, right? So whatever your particular field of study is, it's probably a good idea to figure out what the big database is, what the most useful database is for that field, because that's what you'll end up doing most of your research in. Otherwise, you're flying blind. Next, literature and writing.
Do we have to do the literature and writing part, or can we just type in what we can find?
If you just type it into the Galileo search bar, what that's going to do is run your search terms through the hundreds of databases that the USG subscribes to, right? And while that will turn up a lot of results, it's going to turn up a lot of irrelevant results. So you're going to have a lot, I mean, you can do that, but you're going to have a lot more shit to sift through, right? Whereas, if you go to these more specific databases, it's going to be a lot easier to find it's going to be a lot less work to find what you need. Okay, so we go to the MLA International Bibliography with full text. And let's just try to do a quick search, right? So the more specific your keywords are, the smaller your results list is going to be. And while this may kind of sound a little bit paradoxical when you're starting your research, you generally want a smaller results list, right? Why do you want a smaller results list?
So you don't have to go through a ton just to find a few.
Exactly, yeah. So you don't have to sift through dozens of documents, right, to find the one or two that are going to be relevant to what you're working on, right? So the more specific you can be when you start your search, the better your results are going to be, the more closely keyed they're going to be to what you're working on, right? So who has decided what they want to write on? Okay, Meredith, what are you going to write on?
I'm doing a letter for Birmingham.
Okay, so you're doing the letter from Birmingham jail, and any particular aspect of the letter that you wanted to focus on?
I would say the civil rights between black and white.
Okay, so let's enter our relevant search terms here, right? Let's go with Martin Luther King and Birmingham jail and civil rights and see what that gets us, right? So I think I explained last time, right, but the quotes mean you're looking for specific clusters of words in a specific order, right? And the ands in capital letters mean that you're only looking for documents that contain all of these search terms, right?
So they would have to be capitalized in order for it to search correctly?
Yeah, the software doesn't read it properly unless they're capitalized. And let's see what we get. Okay, so we get 10 search results here, right? That's not bad, right? That's actually a perfectly reasonable number of documents to try to search through. Now we could, if we wanted to, try to narrow the results a little bit further using the sidebar here, right? So one thing we could limit to is source types. So yeah, academic journals, that's good. Book articles, that's good. Books, okay, that's all fine. Sometimes they will also have things like dissertation abstracts. You don't really want dissertation abstracts. Those aren't going to do you much good. So if you're getting too many hits, one thing you can do is try to remove things that are not going to be useful, like document types that are not going to be useful from the search. Okay. Another thing we could do, one of the easiest things, oh no, stop it. All right, there we go. One of the easiest ways to narrow sometimes is to narrow by language. Right? You want to make sure, I'm guessing, that all of the hits you're getting are in English, right? Now, in this case, we're lucky all of them are, right? All 10 of them are. But frequently, you'll get, at least some hits that might be in Korean or French or German, right? They're published in journals in other countries. So limiting it to English only will help you narrow your results. You can also try to narrow further by subject, right? So if we narrow this to black-white relations, then that would reduce this to one source, right? If we narrow this to civil rights movement, that would give us then only 6 hits to sift through. So let's try that. Let's narrow this to civil rights movement and see what we get here. All right. So this first one is a book. We'll talk in a minute about how to deal with books, or how to find books if you need them. All right, this looks like an essay from a book. In fact, most of these look like they're essays from books. And none of them are actually in our database's full text, right? So sometimes you'll get a link at the bottom here to a PDF directly if one of our databases has the article. And you can just click on the PDF, download it, and it's yours. So that's not the case for any of these. So let's find an essay here that looks like it might be relevant. Let's try this one here. This is a journal article, The American Dream Unfulfilled, Martin Luther King Jr. and the Letter from Birmingham Jail. So our interlibrary loan service is called Topaza. So you click on Topaza. You may be asked if you've never used it before to set up an account. So it's just going to ask you for things like your email and your student ID number and things like that, just going to verify your identity. So this is what the screen it initially takes you to is going to look like, right? This is also the screen it's going to take you to when you get an email saying that your article has arrived. And when the article's arrived, there'll be a button over here that you can click that'll allow you to access it. Topaza lets you access an article 5 times before it goes away. And there'll usually be a set date up to which you can access it, right? So the best thing to do is once you get the email, just go straight here, open the PDF, download it to your desktop, and then just keep it. And then you don't have to keep coming back here, and you don't have to worry about it disappearing. All right, we're gonna create a request. We want a new request. Okay, so the journal title is going to be found right here, right? So this journal is called Phylon.
If we haven't requested them yet, because to be completely honest, I forgot how to do that. I emailed you last night.
Yeah.
Am I still going to be able to get them in time or not?
Yeah, usually they'll get you the article within 24 to 48 hours. Yeah, Topaza generally works pretty fast, as long as you're not asking for something real weird. But yeah, usually they will get you things quickly. Okay, so we're looking now for the date. So the date we see is March 1984. Where did you learn about this item? Who cares? You don't need to know this. A wizard told me. You can just put anything there. It doesn't really matter. The next thing you need is the volume number. So that's going to be what's... click on things. That's going to be what's right here after the date, right? The number outside the parentheses is the volume number. So this is volume 45. The number in the parentheses is the issue number. So this is issue 1. And the page numbers are 1 to 18. Right, they're right here. Then we put in the title of the article, which we can usually just copy and paste. The author of the article is James A. Koliako? Yeah, let's go with that. You want a copy. You need it before, let's say, Friday. Right, you have to tell them when you need it by. And then you would put in your patron ID, right? So your patron ID is your student ID number, whatever your 913 number is. And then if I actually wanted this, I would click on Submit Request. And they would send me a notification when it comes through. So you can also request a book through Topaza. And that is something you can do if you're looking for something that our library system doesn't have, right? So I know like our GSW libraries, like, Lord bless them, they try, but our budget is focused on other things, right? We don't have a particularly large library collection. So books, you're typically gonna have to request from elsewhere. I'll show you how to do that in a minute, right? But yeah, the USG system as a whole adds up to one pretty good academic library. And most things actually get to us pretty quickly. But yeah, if there's something you can't get in the USG system, you can request it through Topaza. And then it'll look at like private libraries outside the system. The other thing to know with Topaza is this other tab. This is for requesting things like book articles, right? So, or chapters from a book, right? So you can request a PDF of a single chapter from a book. You fill out all the information here, like so. To give you an example here, like this thing right up, this one right above the one we just filled out, 1963 April scraps of paper. This is from we can see this is from a book. So you could request just this chapter of the book from Topaza. However, if you do that, make sure that you go down to service type and select copy rather than loan. If you don't select copy, they will send you a physical copy of the whole book. Right? If you select copy, they will just send you a PDF of the chapter you asked for. And that's really what you want. I always get a little bit pissed off when I have forgotten to, click copy with these, and they send me the whole book. So, well, I didn't want the damn book. Now I have to photocopy the pages myself. Thanks a lot, library. Yeah, Carmen.
Are we gonna have to do that for every source that we found?
No, you probably won't have to do this for every source that you find. I'm actually going to show you another database that you can get articles from directly, but that's a little harder to navigate and not always as relevant as the MLA bibliography. So does anybody have any questions before I move on to that about Topaza or about the MLA bibliography?
Whenever we're finding our sources, like, how you typed in those keywords or whatever?
Yeah.
Do we just have to, do that one time? Like, just type in one, main thing to focus on, or can we, do different?
Yeah, you'll probably have to try out a couple different combinations.
Okay.
Like with this one, we got pretty lucky that we got, a relatively small number of relevant hits right away.
So it doesn't just have to be how you did silver rights for that or whatever you put in. It doesn't have to just be that. It can be something else too.
Yeah. So we probably would have gotten different results if we would have put in, like, say, Martin Luther King and Birmingham jail and clergy, right? Then we would have gotten things that were specifically related to his response to the clergymen, right?
Okay, so it can be different.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And yeah, it's a good idea to try out a couple of different combinations to try to get different hits, so that you're not just kind of going with the first list of things that comes up. And if you're getting too many hits, like so many that it's hard to narrow them down, like I'll give you an example of what that would look like. So let's say we do a search for Audre Lorde and cancer. Okay, so that gives us like 48 hits, right? So we might then want to actually add another search term that makes it more specific. And that might help us narrow what we're doing. Okay, see, that brings us down, when we add silence to it, right? That brings us down to 3 hits. That's a lot more manageable. Now, if you're not getting enough hits, then you might want to try synonyms for some of your keywords, right? Or try to make them a little bit more broad. Okay, so any other questions about the MLA bibliography? No? Okay, great. Then let's go back into Galileo, and I'll show you all how to use Jstor. So let's go back to our literature and writing databases, and Jstor is, I think, on page 3 or 4 or 2 maybe. Where the hell is it? Here it is, yeah, page 2, bottom of page 2. Okay. So if you do the basic search on Jstor, like this works basically like the Galileo search. If you just type things into this bar, it will search thousands and thousands of journal articles dating back to the 1860s, right? You don't really want that, because again, it's going to be too much information to sift through. So we want an advanced search. And let's try searching on the same things here, right? So let's go with Martin Luther King, not Martin, and Birmingham jail, and civil rights. Okay, so yes, we only want content we can access. You also probably only want articles and books here, right? You don't want book reviews, because those only tell you whether a book is good or bad, right? You know, not how useful it is generally for... The reviews generally aren't useful for research. You don't want research reports, and you don't want miscellaneous. Who the hell knows what that is, right? We only want things that are in English. You can also limit things by date, right? And this is especially useful if you're looking at older texts that might have a lot of stuff written about them over time, right? So if you were doing your paper on, you know, say Thomas Malthus or Jeremy Bentham or Thomas Hobbes, right, somebody who was writing in the 17th or 18th century, you might want to limit your search only to stuff that's more recent, right? Because it would be easier to read, for one thing. And also because it would, you know, it would already be taking a lot of that older research into account, right? So we could set a date limit here, like, you know, say we only wanted things from maybe like 1978 to 2021. Now, one thing I will say about Jstor is if you put in too many filters, it won't do the search, right? So you have to kind of be judicious about what you do here, what you want. All right, in terms of what we want, we can also choose the journal types that we're going to search. So let's do, say, African American Studies. Let's search in Communication Studies. And maybe Language and Literature. All right, you can see there are all kinds of categories, you know, are mostly going to be irrelevant to a lot of what you're going to be doing. I don't think any of you are going to be really doing much with Slavic studies over the next 4 years. But it's there if you need it. We submit our advanced search. Okay, and we get 165 results, right? That's a lot to try to sift through. So what we can do, again, is, try to filter these things a little bit further. So let's say we only want things that are published after 1978. All right, that got rid of 10. Let's say we only want journal articles. Okay, that got rid of about 60, right? Maybe we only go for things in African American studies. That gets us down to 54, right? And probably the only real way we're going to narrow this down much further would be to change our search terms a little bit, right? We might try to come up with some more specific keywords. And then that would help us sort of get fewer results. But when you see, when you click on an article in Jstor, right, it takes you right to it. You can kind of, you can preview it in the reader here, have a quick look at, what's in the article. And then if you feel like this is something that is relevant to what you're working on, you can click Download PDF. Yes, I accept the terms and conditions. And I wait, and it doesn't seem to have done anything. Anyway, you should be able to download the PDF and save it to your desktop, right? So this is probably now on this computer somewhere. I just don't know where. So that's mildly irritating. Oh, I see. Okay, Firefox branded. Okay, it'll open it up in a pop-up. So you may have to. Let's allow pop-ups for Jstor, and there we go. Here it is. And now I could click download, and I could just have this on my desktop, and it's there. I can access it whenever I want it. All right, so that's Jstor. Any questions about Jstor?
I like that one a lot better.
Yeah, I will say Jstor is usually, if I'm doing research myself, Jstor is my database of last resort, because I know that I will find stuff in it. But I'm going to have to work harder, and then I can get it now, right? But I'm going to have to work a little harder on the front end to find things. Whereas, with the MLA bibliography, even if it's stuff that I end up having to request, it's easier to find stuff that's directly relevant. And, a lot of that has to do with the MLA bibliography being something that's devoted to a specific academic discipline, while Jstor is more general. Any other questions, comments, or preferences? Okay, great. So the last thing I'm going to show you all how to do is navigate Gill Find, which will search for books, right? So the first thing you want to do when you go to the Gill Find screen is sign in. Anything you try to do in here is going to require you to sign in. And for some reason, it automatically signs me in now, but what you would give it if you've never signed in before is your GSW username and password, the same thing that you use to access everything on CanesNet, right? It's all connected to the same system. All right, so once you're in, you have a couple of search options here, right? You can search only things that we have in our library, which, as we know, is a fairly limited selection, right? Or you can search the entire university system. searching the whole system is generally speaking going to be more useful to you, particularly if you have a little bit of time. Now, I know that Georgia is a big state, but most of these requests actually work pretty quickly, right? So like Topaza, most of what you request will get to you within 2 days. So it requires a little bit of advanced planning, but not that much advanced planning. So let's say that I'm writing about the Terry Tempest Williams essay that you read for Monday, right? What's that? That's what you're going to pick? Yeah. And so I'm thinking that it might be a good idea if I know a little bit more about downwinders, right? And kind of like who or what they are, and historically how their situation develops, right? So I enter that as a search term. Let's use that. There are any books that give me information about downwinders. Okay, and this turns up 29 results. Some of them are films. I don't really want films. I'm looking here for books. Okay, this is particularly about court cases. All right, this is about the atomic testing program in the 50s. This might be relevant, right? So let's see if it's available. All right, so there are 10 libraries in the system in which it's available, right? Unsurprisingly, we are not one of them. But Albany State is, right? And that's less than an hour away. So we can click on Albany State. Generally, right, the closer the lending university is, the faster you'll get it, right? And for some reason, it's not giving me the option to request. So if that happens, try refreshing. And it's still not giving me the option to request. This is annoying. Okay, maybe we can request it from someplace else. Let's see if we can request it from Georgia State. It's possible that I owe something to Albany State, and they're just not letting me take stuff as a result. All right, let's see. Georgia State University Atlantic Campus. Okay, well, anyway, I don't know why this isn't working, but it should give you a button that says, request. And then it'll ask you the same kind of questions, like when do you need this by? The default delivery place will be Carter Library, and so on and so forth. And like I said, it'll usually get to you within 2 days.
It's like physical copies, right?
This is physical copies, yeah. So another thing, we can also limit our search results here. So if one of the things that we're looking at is format, let's see if we are, let's try things that we have full access to online. Okay, there's that film. That doesn't really help us. But here's something: Greening the Red, White, and Blue, the Bomb, Big Business and Consumer Resistance in Post-War America. Okay, this might work, right? So we can click on online access here. And yeah, there's a link here to an ebook. Sometimes you have to click through a couple of links to actually get to the book. All right, so let's look at the contents. So open the book up for us and see what's here. All right, hey, there we go. There's a chapter specifically titled Downwinders, right? So it looks like it's in part 1. So we open that up. We click on the chapter title Downwinders. And here we go. There's the chapter. So, does anybody have any questions about how any of this works or about particular research strategies you might want to adopt? I have said this before, but I'm just going to reiterate it because I can't say it enough too. Like, seriously, if you haven't yet, make an appointment with the reference librarian. I believe generally that it is good for all of us to acknowledge the limits of our own expertise, right? And so while I know how most of this stuff works and I know where to find most things, right, John knows things that I don't about this system because it's his job to know this system inside out, right? So he really is the go-to person for help navigating our databases. And yeah, just spend 15 minutes with him, it'll save you hours. Does anybody have any questions about anything at all?
Also, if y'all want to like make an appointment with the writing center for your paper, you might want to go ahead and do it because I did today, and there's only like 2 spots left for like the rest of the semester.
Yeah, they're.
Yesterday.
I got the notification. Yeah, but they're filling up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, one interesting side effect of the pandemic is that we now have fewer writing center tutors and fewer slots generally available than we used to. So, yeah, so that's fun. Try to get in there if you can. All right, anything else? Going once, going twice. All right, well, that was a tidy 37 minutes then.
Oh,
All right, so go about your day. You know, it might be a good idea to use some of the extra time you just got back to try to start some research. And we'll see you on Monday.